I'm doing this NFT project, which do you know what an NFT is?
I know it's a non-fungible token.
Amazing.
So I've learned more about it from listening to some of your lives and like looking at your stories,
Yeah. Well,
but I still don't know enough.
I know. It's a fascinating space. Like it took me a while to figure it out myself. The way that I see the use case is as a small business owner and as somebody who is really inaccessible to the majority of the world. I only work with a handful of you and it's expensive and it's intensive. And
Mhm.
so, if I have a roster spot open, it's like, okay, what if there was a pool of people that I could pull from? And that's quite the prize, you know?
Right. It
Um,
is.
yeah. So since, a lot of you can't speak to like NFTs and crypto and how that part works, what you can speak to is what it's like to work with me. So I wanted to get that angle.
Yeah, so I got, introduced to you by my agent, and at the time I was struggling with overtraining, and I really wanted to tackle, what I was dealing with not only from a physical standpoint of taking rest, but also a nutritional standpoint on how to get my body back to where it needed to be. And it's just something that it was kind of like perfect timing, but it also was something that I never really made a priority. And so it was really nice to kind of have that opportunity to work with you and use it as a means to get healthy, but also just understand how to take care of my body as a professional athlete, but just also as a person. And so that's been really wonderful, is knowing that I have a plan for what I need as a professional athlete, but just to be a healthy person. And I guess I never looked at nutrition in that way. So that's been really special. And we've been working together for about 6 months now. And
Ah,
yeah, so I think it's kind of a different place than maybe others started at, just with where I was physically, kind of starting from, I wouldn't say like ground zero, but probably a negative point.
yes.
So just all those labs and getting my blood drawn really was helpful to see what I was deficient in or how my body was recovering or not recovering, and using supplements to help aid in healing, but also nutritionally, making the right decisions. And, we've been working for 6 months, and I feel like I'm learning more on how to take care of my body. Um, I don't know, like how to just like
Yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be surprising for people to hear that like nutrition wasn't like a huge part of your journey to get to where you are. And I think a lot of athletes have the same um, story. And I think a lot of regular people have that same story too. Like, what was your baseline of nutrition knowledge, or like, what were you working off nutritionally before we got into like some deeper stuff? Like, where were you
yeah.
coming from? Like, what had you learned anything before? Had it been touched on? Like,
Like, I never counted my calories, and I do think that that's important to kind of understand how many calories you're intaking. I feel like I've always just been like, "Okay, I'm full. That's enough." And or maybe I'm not hungry, so I'm not gonna eat, and you just better know, like, how to manage your meals, and that I needed to snack during the day. Like, I guess I use my snacks as a means to just, like, eat. I don't know, it just, like, I didn't really understand the value of, like, implementing snacks and small meals throughout the day to continue to, like, keep your energy up. And when I thought of nutrition before, it more so was, I know how to eat healthy in terms of, like, okay, I know I should eat brown rice, I know I should eat lots of vegetables and fruits, but all those, you know, details do make a difference in, how your body's reacting to what you're putting into it. So I didn't understand that, like, how helpful it is to have nuts and seeds in your diet. Like, I would eat them, but I have eaten them more regularly. And
Yeah.
so it's just more so understanding what you're eating, but also how much of it you need to eat.
Yeah.
Because it more so is just like, yeah, I ate beans today, or I ate protein. It's like this is a certain amount of ounces that you need for
This
your body and like your metabolism and your personal physical and nutritional goals.
What was the genetics piece like? I think a lot of people are like, they don't they don't even, it's like mind blowing that you can
Hmm.
even do stuff with your genetics like that. What was that like for you? I do it all day long. So tell me from your point of view.
Uh, it was really cool. I mean, I kind of like, I guess you can kind of geek out over a little bit because you spent, like, I've spent 24, 25 years eating a certain way. And generally, I felt fine. I felt like I've had energy. I felt healthy. But when you look at your nutrigenetics and you understand like things that you may be deficient in, then it allows you to kind of, make those adjustments and feel even better. Yeah. So for me personally, I didn't know that I had a gluten sensitivity. And so understanding that allowed me to make those adjustments in my diet and feel better when I don't eat that gluten. And so those things mean a lot because what you're doing is you're making, your gut healthier and you just feel better. And so understanding those things and understanding what you're putting in your body um is just really, cool to see. And, knowing what you're deficient in terms of, B vitamins and vitamin D, and making those adjustments, it just allows you to feel better and just gives you a better quality of life.
Yeah. What would you say has been the most like pain in the ass part of working with me? Be honest.
Um, I don't know. I think for me, it's just really exciting to like know, especially from a athletic standpoint, to know that I've been successful, not really making nutrition as much of a priority as it probably should have been. So for me, it's really actually exciting to do all these new things and, like I said, have a better quality of life outside of the professional realm, just being a healthy human being, but also knowing that the steps that I'm taking to, be nutritionally healthy is going to help me professionally. So it has been really exciting to, you know, work with you and do these things. But I think probably maybe the biggest challenge would be just doing the portions.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
I mean, like as a swimmer, I just like to eat and I spent my whole life not worrying about portions. So like portioning like the ounces or like the amount of carbs I'm eating,
Yep.
um, that's been really different because it's just like it takes a level of like patience and um yeah, you're just not like freely eating. Like you're actually like focusing what's on your plate and what you're putting in
Yeah.
your body.
It's like being so mindful, which is
Yeah.
so annoying sometimes.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
That's
some
the
of
hardest
it's
part.
like you're having to make sure there's enough. So I think when people are thinking portions, they go to this diet mentality, and it's like, no, we're working on like balance. Like you need this much, you need more of this, and then
Hmm.
balancing this out, making sure that like this is this size and this is this size, so that you can make sure everything's kind of in this harmony
Hmm.
versus just, you know, throwing random stuff on your plate and not thinking about like the balance and
Yeah.
hunger and fullness cues and all of that.
And I wouldn't say I'm thinking about food all the time or how I'm taking care of my nutrition all the time, but I do think that working with you, like for instance, if I go out to eat, like I'm more aware of like what I'm looking at on the menu and what I need to eat. And um I wouldn't say that gets overwhelming, but it's just like you're just like so hyper aware of what you're doing because of, the meetings that I've had or understanding my nutrigenetic panel that um it is kind of like meticulous at times and there's a lot of detail.
Yeah. I think as you go, it'll just get second nature.
Hmm.
But we're
Hmm.
still in the first year, so it's like
Yeah.
you're
Is
still
this
like,
the right
oh,
thing? Am I
do I
eating the
have to
right
really
thing?
think about it this hard?
Yeah.
Um, and then how would you say like working with me has differed from any other working with any other type of dietitian or nutritionist before? Is it a lot different? Is it a little different? Is it the same? Like how would you compare kind of our work versus other nutritional work?
Well, first off, it's just very hands on. I think that sometimes it's harder to access other nutritionists that I've worked with, maybe because they're working in a bigger organization. So working with you, I understand like how individualistic my plan is from the top to the bottom. And that's very different. I think I've never had a nutrigenetic panel. So that in itself is just something that I feel like other people I've worked with can't offer, just really understanding from a genetic place where your deficiencies are coming from instead of just, focusing on the blood work. And also the fact that you can work with, in my situation, you can work with my strength coach, and the way that my DEXA scan was broken down is completely different than the way my DEXA scan may have been broken down by someone else. Just understanding my imbalances and why we need to fix those imbalances, and um, just the changes in my body fat percentage as I go. And also for me, especially like the difference in my training, whether I'm in season or out of season, I'm able to adjust my schedule and my eating plan. And I feel like working with other dietitians, it wasn't necessarily that case. It kind of was like a couple phases of a year. This is just what you eat. And I feel like with your accessibility, if I ever needed to change my meal plan one given week, I can do that,
Yeah.
and have an understanding of why I'm doing something some way.
Yeah. Well, I love working with you. You're one of my faves. And one that's like so rewarding to watch. I mean, yes, I came in at like the I feel like my work with you was like a panic and like how do we fix this? Like something's wrong and then you're looking for tools and like
Mhm.
um you need, Lindsay was searching, you were searching for like, okay, we need something different. We need something now. We need,
Mhm.
we need and so it was interesting to come in not at like a peak level, but at this kind of like a valley. And then to watch you come out of that, like we've had so many things like show improvement and just like your whether it's your feedback on how you're feeling or watching a lab marker like actually improve. It's been like a really interesting, you know, year with you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
because it's so rewarding for me too. Because sometimes it's like baby tweaks with the client, and yes, it makes a difference, but they were already kind of, peak at a
Mhm.
peak level, and then I'm just holding them there. But for you, it was like you had gone up, and then you had gone down during this really crazy part of your life where we, as your medical team, we were like, yeah, you're gonna sit and you're gonna
Yeah.
not do anything for 3 weeks before the Olympics. Like
Yes.
crazy for you.
Yeah.
And you just been so vulnerable and beautiful through the whole thing. I know a lot of people have really looked up to you during this whole time, and I'm grateful that I get to be on the back end of that and know that like I play a very small part, but at least I'm helping lift you up.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
just feel like we're gonna see really good things, you know, through this rest period, but once I get back in the water, just things that I missed and now get to not miss.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited too. We're gonna crank your meal plan here coming up.
Yep.
Match your match your level of output.
Mhm.
Thank you for doing this. I
Of
appreciate it.
course.